Can you hear us on the phone?
Yes, this is Spencer on the phone.
Oh, hi. Okay, Spencer. Who else is going to show up? Was Angela planning on joining us?
You know, I couldn't tell you, Carl. I haven't. I don't know that. I just got the. I know that I was, so I'm here. So I haven't spoken with Angela.
Okay. Do you want us to wait until she give her a chance before we start our executive session? Or you want to just go right into it?
Yeah, sure. Maybe give her a minute or so.
Okay. All right. We'll move along
Okay.
to our agenda.
Okay, so we'll hold off on the executive session. We'll go to the consent agenda. I need a motion for that, or if anybody has any questions or anything on the consent agenda. Okay, a motion, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Cole.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Thank you. And should we go ahead for the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. So we are opening the public hearing for the resolutions for the budget and things. If there's anyone present that wishes to speak, please give your name and address and the last name of how to spell your last name before giving a statement. Please direct all questions and statements to the manager. And we request that those in support speak first, and then those opposing will have an opportunity to speak. So basically, that's it. And the public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make a comment or anything?
That's you, Mike.
No.
Okie dokie. So I'm gonna, hearing no further comments or questions regarding this matter, I declare the public hearing closed.
Okay, and then this budget resolution is what was passed by our budget committee. And we're recommending approval.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve resolution 2510, adoption of a fiscal year 26 budget and making appropriations as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Cole.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
Again, I'll open the public hearing for the next resolution. And again, if anyone has any questions or anything, please state your name. Doesn't look like it's changed, so having no further comments or questions regarding this matter, I declare that public hearing closed. And now I need a motion for resolution 2512.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Roger.
2512. I actually, when I read through this, I mean, I actually don't, it's not clear to me where the money's coming from or going to on the 430,000 and the now 110,000.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, it's not going anywhere. So typically when we do the resolutions and it comes out of, or for contingency, we're transferring out of contingency. This particular one is a supplement budget, meaning last year's budget for fiscal year 25 that was approved, we were short on these two specific items on there. So what we're doing is opening up, adding more to the budget through this process of a supplement budget resolution. It doesn't need to come in or out of anything. What it's stating is we're spending more money in fiscal year 25 than what we'd originally budgeted for. So we need to adjust the fiscal year 25 budget for these additional items.
So when Medford raised the treatment rates in September.
I get that.
That was not in our budget, so but we decided not to change anything. So we ended up spending more than 10% more on that particular line item for materials and services on the budget because of that rate. So the money's there, I mean, we've already paid it.
Well, what do you mean the money's there?
We're not, it doesn't put us into a deficit or anything. You know, we had sufficient reserves in the general fund, sufficient revenue in the general fund to cover that increase, but.
Doesn't that mean we're transferring it from the general fund?
This is-
To this?
But this is the general fund
It is the
expense.
general fund, okay. But if you have enough money in the general, I guess I don't understand
Okay,
what's the point of
so
a
when
supplemental
the line
budget.
item, when the expense category exceeds what was in your budget by 10%,
Oh,
you have to do a
10%.
supplemental budget. Even if you've got the resources to cover it, you still have to do the supplemental budget because that expense category exceeded what was authorized to be expended by the budget resolution that just passed.
Oregon budget law requires us to do some type of resolution so that everybody knows we're spending more than what was approved for fiscal year 25 budget.
So that makes it a little different than the transfer.
Yes.
And you're talking about only like in the general fund, only in materials and services. So,
This is actually,
So if you want to look back at the one we just approved, and you'll see under general fund, there's materials and services of $8.2 million. If we exceed that number by 10,
well,
no, if we exceed that number at all, we have to do
you do the
Transfer
transfers.
appropriation,
If
yeah.
we exceed any of these budget numbers, we can use contingency. So that's when I do the resolutions of transfer from contingency. But if we don't have enough contingency to account for those over expenditures, then we have to do a supplemental budget. And that's what this is for. It's just, budget law says we have to have the board approve these additional expenses above what was approved in the budget last year. If it was over 10% for that line item, we would have had to got the whole budget committee together again. That these two, and approve it, but these two items were under 10% adjustment, but we ran out of contingency, so we have to do a supplement budget.
Okay, that makes more sense, because the first one I understood when you said it was coming out of contingency.
Right,
Never,
right, but we don't have enough contingency
that's
for
why-
those, and so then I have to do a supplement budget, and if the supplement budget amount is 10% or less, then we can just do it through a resolution with my normal board.
Okay.
If it's over 10%, then we have to get the budget committee together again and approve that additional budgeted amount.
thanks for clarifying.
Okay. Everybody good? Thank you. Roll call, please, Jim.
you need a motion.
Oh, yeah, I need a motion first.
Okay, I move to approve resolution 2512, supplemental budget for fiscal year 2025 as presented.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Brenda Tom,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
John Flynn.
Yes.
Next, resolutions, are we still moving on?
Moving on.
Okay.
I'm gonna check with Spencer. You want us to executive session?
Yeah, I don't, yeah, let's do that. I'm running short on time. I messaged Angela and I haven't heard back from her, so let's just go ahead and do that, and then I'll let you guys carry on with your business uninterrupted.
Okay. Everybody except for Carol and John. Carol and Joe.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're a good doorman, thank you, Mike. Okay. Our RBSS Board of Directors will now meet in executive session to review and evaluate the performance. Oh, wrong one. To consult with your attorney, our attorney regarding, legal rights and duties in regard to current litigation or litigation that is more likely than not to be filed according to ORS 192.6602. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. This has happened. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed to report on any of the deliberations of the, are specifically directed not to report to any deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. At the end of the session, we will return to open session and we'll put the audience back in the room. Okay.
Pause recording.
Okay, the board has concluded its executive session deliberations. It will now re-enter open session. No decisions were made and no votes were taken during the executive session.
Let me go get everybody.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
The opposite. Not terrible. People,
Yeah, are you all in there?
you just get on this break, still wait one. Well, Well, it was very.
To clean the kitchen on you.
We started to, but like, right, we started like.
Yeah, I'm sure Nick was sending her that.
Pizza. Okay, we're back in open session and we're on to resolution 25-11 capital improvement plan for all areas.
Okay, so this is something that Nick does every year, updates our 5-year capital improvement plan. We also use this as the basis for our SDC calculations, so we got this, that's why it's important. And I don't know if there's anything, I mean, I don't know if you can read it because it's printed so small, but this is also, we use this, this is in our budget. This was part of the whole budget presentation. We have for all of our areas, we've got projects identified going on in 5 years. Keep the system happy. If there's any highlights you want to point to, if it's not.
Mostly just the trend. I mean, you can really see some of the big projects we're doing right now are kind of bumping it up over the next few years, and then historically, from what I know from before I came to work here and up to about 2 years ago, we look at, for the general election system, there's about 2 million, 2.5 million, and we're bumping way out, and then we're coming back. We're going to be back down to that level here pretty soon in the next few years. Kind of more business as usual rather than these big giant projects we're trying to tackle. That's about it.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Sure, I'll move for approval. And all areas. I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
Roger Cone,
Yes.
Glenn Parsons,
Yes.
Glenn Edward,
Yes.
John Quinn.
You know, just as a side note, I know other boards where the motions are taken turns and people are assigned. When we can do that, where people know that it's their turn to make a motion, and then I know other boards that do that. And
You
then,
wanna go clockwise or counterclockwise?
yeah.
When I was on the SDAO board, it was a race. So who could get the motion in, who could say.
Yeah.
Fast as they could.
And then I've had that on a couple of committees where there were a little bit of competition, but yeah.
I was told at a prior meeting, a different outfit, that I shouldn't be making all these motions. Let somebody else do it. So that's why I kind of sit back and.
I knew that's why you were sitting back. I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, we'll give that some discussion later. Let's move on to resolution 2313.
Okay, this is another transfer of appropriation.
Yep.
Am I right one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Transfer of appropriation from contingencies for our Shady Cove and Gold Hill Fund.
Nothing specific, just a little bit over budget. is
Yeah.
all, And the materials and services
Yeah.
there.
But I will say the Gold Hill, the over budget is the bond council.
Yes, that one.
Okay, any questions on this one? Motion, please.
Whose turn is it?
It's Johnson.
I move to approve resolution 2513, transfer of appropriations as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
Frederick Hall,
Yes.
Mike Parson,
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Don Quinn.
Yes.
Your motion next.
You know, in planning, we always had the vice chair, he always did,
Oh, really?
so I got used to that.
So Mike does quite a few, but yeah. Anyway, resolution 2514, general overhead rate, billing rates for labor and equipment rental.
Okay, so this is what we charge for our time and equipment. When we do projects, when people bill their time, when the road gets assigned to a job or a project, these are the costs that go into that. You'll notice on the equipment rates, we have an internal and an external rate. And the internal rate is based on what it costs us to operate that equipment. We triple it if we're doing work for an outside entity, like ODOT or anything else like that. And the main reason for that is if we didn't, they would want us to do everything. So we try to keep that kind of, as close to what a market rate would be. Like if you wanted to go out and rent a flusher truck, then what would it cost you to rent it? So we don't want, we're willing to help out other agencies to a point, but we don't want to be just, the cheap and easy alternative that, they'll come to us because they don't feel like spending the money to go to someone else. So that's what that difference is.
That's a good philosophy.
It seemed like a pretty good deal, like so this is what we would charge another agency.
Right.
So do you get the rate for the employees, by like taking their cost of salary plus
Yeah,
benefits and
salary,
dividing it by
benefits.
2,000 or whatever?
Yeah, and then, the people are different places on the pay scale, but I grouped the positions all together and kind of average those out. So, we've got 7 people in collection systems 2, collections 1, operators. Because I round everything into a whole number rather than, because it would be just random numbers if we did it any other way. And, so, yeah, but that covers the cost of each employee for wages, benefits. I think I factor time off into that. I have to double check that. Maybe we don't. Okay. So that, but maybe we should do that. But yeah, anyway, that's covers our cost. And it doesn't get used a lot. We've kind of scaled back on how much work we do for other agencies just because we've got a lot of work to do ourselves. Where it affects is when we're doing capital projects, it gets capitalized. So, when Nick designs a project, and you got Nick's time, you got the draftsman's time, you've got, the inspector's time, all that all goes into the cost of the project. And these are the rates we use to go into that.
They seem highly reasonable.
I think so.
So,
Jennifer just showed up. Where is she? Hi, Jennifer. So I guess I didn't send you the memo, but Spencer and Angela have come and gone already. Yeah. So I guess Spencer had a time constraint, so he wanted to go a little earlier, so they moved here and we already had that executive session, but
Okay.
sorry about that.
Oh, no, no problem. It's good to see you all. Hello.
good to see you too.
Well, y'all have a good day. I'm out.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Okay,
Bye.
right.
Okay. We're ready for a motion, John.
I move to approve resolution 25-14.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Jay Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Crum,
Yes.
Bracken,
Yes.
John Edwards,
Yes.
John Flynn.
Thank you. Okay, next, resolution 2515, renewal of personal service contracts. This is pretty much something we do every year.
We update this every year. And, these are companies that we have continuing personal service agreements with that we call on whenever we need them. So that's this is maybe a little bit different from last year, but I think sometimes we try to call out ones we don't use anymore. But all of these companies on here, we do use pretty regularly.
Okay. Any questions?
Move for approval of resolution 2515, renewal of personal services contracts.
Okay. John, you want to do a second, please?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Jay Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Crum,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
John Flynn.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Next is resolution 2516, employee compensation plan.
Okay, this is what was approved at the budget committee. This basically a 3% cost of living adjustment for everybody. And I think that is the only change we made there. So, and that was all built into the budget.
Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, motion please.
I move to approve resolution 25-16.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Okay, and it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Jay Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Crum,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Edwards,
Yes.
John Flynn.
Yes. I have a comment that doesn't reflect the vote. So I noticed, and I know it's already approved, I just had a question.
Okay.
So the certification incentive is only 2% per level. The certifications are how hard or easy to get?
Well, except for, there's also, you go through the different job categories.
Okay,
So there's two different things that go on there. So, like on the collection system side, where that comes into play is if you are, we don't put you in the collection system 3 or 4 job scale category unless you're a crew lead. So if we've got some of them, we do have some that, you know, say have a collections 4, but they're not a crew lead, it would get paid at the operator 2 wage scale plus 2% for their 3, plus 2% for their 4. So that's where that comes into play.
it helps recognize folks that can't get the promotion but still have the good
Right,
certificate.
exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, next we're ready for 2519.
Okay, this is our rate structure for the coming year. It is a fairly significant increase for our core area. We're going from $27 to $31 a month for residential. Shady Cove is about $1.50 increase total, and Gold Hill about $7. Pretty significant Gold Hill. And one thing that, if you remember what it looked like last year, is we're putting Shady Cove into the same format as what our rates are. So before Shady Cove's rate structure for commercial, like if it was a regular business, it would be based on the number of employees, their rate. If it was a restaurant, it was based on the number of seats.
Yes.
If it was, and there were some other ones that were really bizarre. And, you know, and it came about because they never had a water system, so we can't meter anything. So we made some changes last year to how we charge people who don't have daily water. Because we still have a pretty good chunk of people in our district, outside the cities don't have metered water. And, we came up with a formula that would assign a flow rate to them based on what their user category was. And so we went through all the commercial accounts in Shady Cove and applied that same process to them. And we came up with rates for all of the Shady Cove. So on the commercial in Shady Cove, you'll see Schedule D non-residential. Now they're based $30 per account plus $20.70 per resident, equivalent residential. So that's how we address that. So instead of charging a business based on the number of employees, it's going to be charged based on the plumbing fixtures that are in the building. Restaurants, the way we assign the equivalent residential is based on the square footage of the building. So they will assign that. So we went through, we calculated that for all of the commercial accounts in Shady Cove, sent everybody letters, let them know what was happening. Have we got any response?
Not from their customers yet or anything. I'm not even sure confirmed that the letters were sent out. But I know the biggest, because Michelle emailed me this morning, that their biggest change is they were way overcharging their motels and undercharging their RVs.
Yeah.
But with this new rate structure that we have, that they've now applied, their motels are gonna be significantly less, but their RVs are gonna be significantly more.
That's kind of expensive, though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's been a lot of emails back and forth. I just haven't got confirmation that they sent it out, because
I
it'll be
think they
effective.
drafted all that.
Oh, he did,
Yeah.
he will be sending them out today, yes,
Okay.
now that I know it. They're dated the 18th after the board knows of
That's
this.
right, yeah, we went and waited.
Right. Raphael's gonna be mailing out the letters to all the customers. Shady Cove is changing their software right now to reflect those rates. It'll be effective their July 1 service that they'll get first of August.
Yeah, that's a significant change, and they'll see it, the bills that go out in August. I don't think it's gonna be real drastic, I mean, besides what Brenda said.
Except for those two, yeah.
Most of them are not gonna see real significant change. So anyway, that is what we're looking for a rate structure.
Looking for a motion? I move to approve resolution 2519, schedules for sanitary sewers and stormwater charges as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
I actually have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That I have a
John,
question.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay. Carl.
Mhm.
So the fog surcharge, I understand it's, 50, 150, 250, I get that. But fog surcharge will increase by 100 per month up to a maximum, so it can end up being $1,000 a
It
month.
could, yeah, if they just ignore us and don't address the fog issues, yes.
I mean, I'm certainly in Medford, I'm aware, we're someone that uses the Medford plant. I don't know if it goes through RVSS or not, but there's a food manufacturer that just has elected to pay the fine.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a fog-rich, surprisingly fog-rich, manufacturing process.
That's interesting.
And they just
Yeah, I mean,
decided,
I
cool.
imagine for something, if they're big enough, $1,000.
Yeah, $1,000 means not a big deal, and it would be very
Yeah,
expensive to
But it
fix.
doesn't cost too many $1,000 to put in an interceptor problem either.
Well, they haven't done it,
Yeah.
and,
Huh.
they just pay and we're trying to figure out another way to do it. I'm not gonna say who it is or elaborate, but it can be a factor. We wanna motivate them to do the correct thing, so we don't need to surcharge them.
We haven't had any issues like that I'm aware of. So that's good.
Yes, yes.
That's why I was wondering whether it was $1,000 a month, which would be painful enough to fix your equipment.
Yeah.
A total of $1,000 a year is
It's
less
not a
than
year, it's a month.
Understood.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I wasn't clear.
Okay.
Any other questions? Now we can.
It's already been approved.
Yes, I've done roll call.
What's that?
I haven't done roll call.
Oh, we haven't?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We had the motion,
I got
but
you.
I didn't
Okay.
acknowledge that John had a question. So now we have.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Tone,
Yes.
Mike Parson,
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
John Flynn.
Yes.
Yeah. Moving on to resolution 2520. Development charges.
Is that anybody?
So this one. What do you got? Yeah, try to make the order. Okay, this one, bears some thought because, it exposed a flaw in the methodology I developed a few years ago. And when I did that, on the, so the SDC, so there's a reimbursement fee, there's an improvement fee. Reimbursement fee is easy. You take all the money you spent on your system, you divide it by how many people you have, and that's what the rate is. The improvement fee, you take the value of all of the stuff you're planning, and you divide that by how many new connections you're gonna have over the next 10 years, or something we use 20 years, and that's your number. When we developed our methodology, we used as our growth rate, we would say we will base it on the countywide growth over the previous 5 years. And what happens, and I think Roger pointed it out last month, where we had some of them really, really high because the growth rate was really low. And so, you got a really small denominator, you end up with a really big answer at the end. Well, we now have a negative growth rate in Jackson County over 5 years, which gives us irrational numbers. And so basically, I guess you look at it two ways. One, it gives us a no answer number, or it gives us an infinity. We're negative, so we'll take negative. I don't know. So something needs to get fixed. And so we're going to have to address the methodology to address that. I do want to point out, because I dove into it a little bit deeper this morning, and you look at the population over the last 5 years in Jackson County, and it's gone down. It's down like 0.3%. It's not a huge number, but it is down. When you look city by city, Talent and Phoenix are still, they haven't quite recovered fully from the fires, but they're close. Every place else really is growing. It's the unincorporated areas that are not. So I think it was a bad choice to base it on the entire county because, and I was thinking, I live in an unincorporated area. Population of my house has declined to a third of what it was. There were 6 of us, now there's 2 of us. So, imagine that could happen in other places too. So anyway, what my recommendation is going to be is to table this. Leave our rates unchanged until we correct our methodology and, give me a time frame for that, 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And, but we can go through it and make that correction. And then we can come back with a new resolution when that's done. But if we tabled it now, nothing would change. And then we could do the technical fixes that we need, move forward on that. That's one option. We could adopt this as it is. As it is, we can't really justify anything on the improvement fee side. So it would result in a reduction. The only one it would affect would be the interceptor SDC would be reduced.
So we can go ahead and make a motion to table it, or we can make a motion and then vote no.
Or you can adopt it.
Or we can adopt it. Those are the 3
If
options.
you adopt it, then we can't, we would be able to justify the rates as they are today. We don't have a reduction in the interceptor and development charge. If we table it, we can table it and then, give a time frame where we come back with new methodology that corrects the flaws and then adopt a new resolution. Then, if you vote no on it, kind of the same thing would happen. I think we would have to come back with a new methodology to correct.
Hey, Roger,
I don't see it now, but I guess I thought you had suggested rates which were seemed fine. Hadn't you suggested rates all through there that, like, your justified rate and then your proposed rate?
Yeah. So,
So they all look reasonable. It's like,
Well-
unless we're like going against some,
well,
Violating
it is,
law.
you are reducing one of them. Is that under the manager's report?
What's in the minutes? That's-
No,
conclusion and recommendations page.
yeah, it's, well, at least in this, it's.
Oh, the manager's report.
Oh.
Yeah. I wrote down on
It's in the very end of the manager's report.
Yes, last three paragraphs.
Which is, you want to- No, it's not the manager's report, sorry, it's a memo right.
Right, county resolution.
that. Oh, it's not in my book.
This go?
Yeah, I know, I wrote it, I know it.
Yeah, I guess my question, what's wrong with just going with this? And then next year we can,
It's not, it would reduce the interceptor STC from 500 to 175. Is the only thing it would really change.
He'll
And
take.
like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that leaves, a fair amount of money on the table. I mean, if we get, 500 permits, what does that map out to? I mean, that's 500 times 3,200. Yeah, so that would be the only concern is that it would reduce the amount of revenue we would get on the interceptor development charge.
so what do you think we could do instead to keep, we gonna do funny math to keep the interceptor close to 500? Or
No, I think, well, for right now, I think if you tabled it, then the previous resolution stays in effect until we change it. So that would be the next thing. And what I would do, a couple things I would do if to redo the methodology is I would not put the growth rate based on the county population. I would base it on our growth in ERUs as a district and go 5 or 10 years or whatever, which over 5 years, last 5 years, our new connections, our ERU growth has been about 2% on average. So, that's a justifiable number there. I considered changing, right now, the way it's set up, and it's set up just because I do things like this. It's set up that I recalculate the whole thing every year. Projects get finished, projects get added, there's growth in the system, so I recalculate it every year. You don't have to do that, almost nobody does that. But what most agencies do with SDCs is they'll say, this is what the number is, and we'll adjust it every year based on the construction cost index. And that's real typical, real common. I think that might be a better way to approach it. So with a new methodology, it would be, we would go through and calculate it. I would use a growth rate that is reflective of what our growth rate has traditionally been as a district, not the county population. And, you're kind of a snapshot in time on your capital improvement plan. But again, like Dick said earlier, it's kind of very consistent of what we're doing on capital improvements. We really don't have this huge capacity deficit anywhere in the system that we have to do this giant project to fix. It's really a lot of the rehab work. A lot of times does involve increasing capacity, increasing pipe size, but not necessarily to correct deficits, but just to kind of plan for stuff in the future. So I would make it a simpler calculation that wouldn't have to be repeated every year because you would have it indexed. And, we would, it would end up being, kind of a board discretion of what is considered reasonable.
indexing to inflation is good.
That's what?
Indexing to inflation is good.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what Medford does. I think that's what almost everybody does. And, you know, if you remember from years past, I would always tell myself, okay, we calculated this is what we can justify. But this is what we're recommending rate, and there's always a gap there. There's a lot, you know, there's different schools of thought, because there's some cities and some districts that believe that they should charge the absolute most they can justify, and there's others that say, no, we want to keep it really small because, you know, the one hand is we want to push growth, the other hand is if anyone comes here, we want to make sure that we get what we can out of them. and you know, that's you know, two different philosophies. I think, you know, most everybody is kind of somewhere in the middle, you know, one extreme or another. But anyway, but I think what my recommendation would be right now would be to vote to table this. Say, you know, tell me, bring us something better back. There is, when you adopt a new methodology, there is a public notice period of, I think, 90 days. So, you know, if we said we want to adopt a new methodology in January, you know, I would have to complete it by October or so, which shouldn't be a problem, and then do the public notice and kick it out in January. Whether we change it in January or sit on it until June, that would be another decision to make.
I'll move to table resolution 2520, setting rates for the system development charges.
Second. How long are we gonna table it for? 180 days? You're talking about January, so that'd be about 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can do that.
Do we need to specify that in our?
I think I would table it until a new SEC methodology is approved. And then aside from that, you tell me you gotta get this done in January.
That's a long motion.
As presented.
I think we have an understanding of what Carl is to do. And do we want to add?
Just a matter.
Well, I think you do that as a separate motion. I think you can move, make a motion that directs me to have a new SEC methodology ready for the board's approval no later than the January board.
January
And then-
2026, yeah.
And then you can say, on the second motion is to table this resolution until January.
So motion.
I could do my motion. I have staff prepare a revised methodology by January 1st, 2026.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is everybody clear? Is everybody good? Okay. Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Cone,
Yes.
Mike Parkinson.
Yes.
Don Edwards.
Yes.
Thank you.
You know, kind of disappointed, Carl, because I wanted you to be able to say, oh, okay, yeah, your plans are great, so it looks good. Your SDC is infinity.
Okay, next is resolution 2521, the strategic plan.
Okay, so I've made no changes since last month. I think I put a title page on it. Aside from that, there's some reason with hopefully everyone's had a chance to review that. We're recommending adoption. I do want to point out one part of it on appendix B, it was the very last part on the performance incentive. In years past, what we've done is we had 5 broad categories of performance, and we had different goals in each one, and we assigned a maximum of $4,000 into a bonus pool in each category, and then based on the percentage of the goals that we completed, that was what we gave as an annual bonus to the staff. And it's averaged probably a little over $15,000 a year. We never get everything done, which if we did, we have a poor plan because it's just kind of, there's a challenge. What I want to change on that is to make that more discretionary on the board's part and do it as part of the budget process as where, rather than just saying, your maximum is 20,000, you would give us a number. And then from that maximum number, it would still be based on the percentage of the tasks that got completed that we do. But like I said, it's been the same number for 6 years now, and things have changed. We have more staff, we have more, a lot, so it might be justified to increase that amount. It comes to somewhere around $300 or $400 a person, which is nice. I mean, it's kind of a nice little,
It's a nice little chunk of
Christmas
change.
party check,
Yeah.
that we get. And then the other change I was making to that is I used to have a very complicated formula that
Well, of course you
Hey,
did.
heads are fat in here. That it wasn't the same amount for everybody. I gave favor to longevity. So someone like Carol would get twice what a new employee would get because of the adjustment. And I want to take that away. And just make it the same for everybody because it's easier and it's not like younger people are contributing less. I mean, they're still getting the same effort into it. So those were the kind of two changes I made on the back end on the performance side of it.
I like those changes.
I do too.
I'm sorry, Carol, but I do.
Well, I mean, it's all of I've got almost as many years as Carol, and Joan's got almost as many as me. So
Yeah.
But it just seems like the way you go.
Everybody's gonna work just as
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, you're not going to encourage longevity. I mean, that's not a big enough incentive to encourage people. I don't want to quit,
Well, there's
that's
other
what 2%
longevity. So, I like the idea of changing the amount, the board allocating it differently.
Yeah.
And we can probably discuss that at some time to what we would base that on, why we would
Yeah.
move it up, or why we might move it down.
Yeah, and it would be more transparent too.
Yeah.
How we do it in the budget process, so I think that's a.
Yeah. And definitely put it in the budget and stuff. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Any questions or any comments? Okay, I need a motion for the strategic plan, please.
I move to approve resolution 25-21 strategic plan as presented.
Okay, and a second,
I'll second.
Mike seconded, so roll call, please.
Kate Harrison.
Yes.
Roger Cone.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, resolution 25-22, certification of election.
Yeah, that just came in last night.
So now we gotta certify that you're actually,
So,
Roger.
yes, so Roger, John did in fact, win re-election, so we need to certify that, and I can send that to the July 7th.
okay, I need a motion for that, please. Okay.
Move for approval of my big election win. Move for approval of resolution 25-22 certification of election.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, roll call, please.
Kate Harrison.
Yeah.
Roger Cone.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
John Clark.
Congratulations.
Hey.
Okey dokey. Now, project update.
All right. So, we have the new projects, but everything else is kind of chugging along. In Gold Hill, we're still working through the design. Most of this last month, has involved us communicating with ODOT. be kind of the go-between ODOT and the consultant to finalize our ad work agreement for the new pipes. And we're actually gonna do a spare in our force main going across the vehicles of our Road River Bridge. And I just received the final submittals from the consultant and ODOT just right before this meeting, so I think shoot over to ODOT. Antelope Road, we are so very close. The contractor needs to go out and stripe and basically test the main. They planned on striping Juneteenth, and then the county gave some static about that, and they pushed it. They said, okay, our contractor can't get down until Friday, it's supposed to rain on Friday, so. Just part of the course on this project, so that'll probably push it till the striping contractor. Shady Cove 3, we're just working on, trying to figure out all the existing utilities in and around the station. It's kind of a mess out there. Just kind of chugging away on that. Echo Way, not a whole lot there. The Gold Hill, railroad crossing abandonments, J362. We're working through getting multiple permits to relocate some service laterals on Second Street, which is the highway, the river highway through there, and that's ODOT's right of way, and they require us to obtain buy-off from the tribes. So we submitted for that, and the Quill tribe has responded and said they want a survey. So, which so happens we have from our Bill project. So we sent that to them. It was 330 pages or something, which we pared down. I don't think they expected us to have one. We're like, good news, here you go. Happy reading. So we've yet to hear back from them. I think at most they'll require us to have them on site, but it just prolongs getting those service permits, which is really the issue. But and with stormwater facility, nothing's going on there. UV disinfection upgrade out in Shady Cove is actually chugging along. It's going pretty good. They've got one of the chlorine contact chambers totally decommissioned, and now they're just finishing up forming up the new concrete and all the plumbing and conduit that's going on. So yeah, it's cool. You stop by, John. Anyway,
I will.
It's cool.
I'd like to see it.
Or anybody else that's interested in the super treatment. That's it for me. It's other stuff going on too.
So the Shady Cove UV was like, didn't we say it was 1.9, but we're getting what grants and what forgivable?
Yeah, it's about 1.7 million total, and we're getting half of that is going to be forgiven.
So $850,000
Yes,
plus roughly at the end of the day.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
it's pretty good. Yeah, that's going to turn out really good. It took a lot longer than what it should have for a number of different reasons, but now that we've got it on the run, sounds like the contract is doing really well. Getting on schedule there. It's going to be a nice change to not have that chlorine gas. It's huge. Yeah.
And how much were we spending every year on chlorine?
I have to go back and look. It's not insignificant by any stretch. I don't know. That's a good question. I should look and see if I think the operating costs, when you look at disinfection, I think UV is typically the cheapest. Fluorine and sodium hypochlorite is the most expensive. Chlorine gas is in the middle, but it's getting harder and harder to find. It's not, they're fewer, because the liability of it among us, people don't want to carry it anymore. So it's been a struggle. We've had to switch vendors a number of times because the vendors we were using stopped carrying them.
This afternoon on the Medford docket, Johnson needed to get some new chemicals, and for the big plant, of course, it's going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
And I think it was $448,000.
Yeah, I think they use the sodium hypochlorite out there.
They did, yeah.
Which, it's the safest form of chlorine, but it's also a little bit more expensive than gas.
Yes. 4, 448 is the contract.
Yeah, I believe it. So that's a big
Maybe
plan.
we should explore UV too. It would have to be a much bigger UV.
You'd be a huge UV system, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's it.
Power consumption.
Yeah.
Would be pretty wild, yeah. Wow.
They're getting solar panels. Yeah, that's, I mean, that's it for me. I don't think I had anything else.
Okey dokey, Owen here.
Yeah, Bluffing and TV were both around 11 miles. We got new controls and VFDs installed at Airport Pump Station, which is right behind Vista. They're up and running working well. And the only other thing is the lagoons took in we had a big month, last couple months, but now they're doing some land applications, so it's down to 280,000 gallons, which is about $42,000.
That's probably big up again. Yeah. Any questions? Okay.
All right, yeah, most of this we've already talked about. I will mention, we do have a new staff member, Christine Lazina. Is our new stormwater vet. She also is trained in GIS. And so we've temporarily suspended our recruitment for a GIS tech. I want to give, because she actually applied to the GIS position first, and I looked at her resume and she had, you know, all the skills that we were looking for in our stormwater program. So I called her and asked her if she'd be willing to interview for that one. And she did, and she was clearly the best candidate we had. It probably would have been one of the best candidates we had if we look at the GIS. So we're gonna see where she fits best before we resume the recruitment for the other position. Let's see, Gold Hill, update on Gold Hill transition, the loan assumption stuff. Brenda and I have a meeting with them again this afternoon at 2. And I think we've got everything that we're supposed to do to finalize the loan transition of their previous loan, I think. And so we should be able to clarify that today. On the Intertype project itself, we have completed the application for USDA financing. And we're also still working on the DEQ financing. So I'll keep saying this because it helps me remember it. But when we go to construction, DEQ is going to give us interim financing for the construction phase. When that is done, we'll refinance that. And what it looks like right now is that we will refinance that with a big loan from USDA plus a $2 million grant and a big loan from DEQ plus a $2 million grant. What they have not accounted for yet is I am working on a deal with Business Oregon to get another $1.4 million loan. That would be, half of that would be grant money. So that looks like they're agreeable to that. The request we made for federal capital direct spending was denied. The request we made for the state for capital direct spending, that's still, we won't know until the final, their bills pass. And I think that they're going to close the session next week sometime. So we should know if we're included in that or not. That was only 750,000, but everything helps. So we are making some progress on that. At least we're getting some answers. That was still an answer. And yeah, as far as the design and everything's kind of moving right on track. Engineers making really good progress on that. We should be ready to go to construction next spring. The transition to PERS very much reminds me of the Abbott Costello Who's on PERS thing. And I'm Costello, and I cannot make sense of what they're telling me. But they keep insisting over and over again that we're way ahead of schedule, and we're doing great. I was like, we're transitioning next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But supposedly everything's in order. There's some confusion about when we have to start paying money. And it looks like right now, we're not gonna pay any money until January, except for the handful of people who are already vested in PERS. And which is opposite of what they told me before. So I don't think I'm gonna know until we actually get a bill.
Or at least.
See, and this is the part that scares them. Because
These people are
they
in
don't know
charge
what
of
they're doing.
$1 billion of assets.
Yeah.
And this is our people's future, and it's in the hands of.
Well, in fairness, you know, the people we're dealing with are not the people who are managing the assets.
So they just have so many
So,
goals.
But still, they handle paperwork.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, we've been in contact with them. Joan and Brenda have done some trainings with them. So we're getting ready, but we can't get access to anything until after July. So we can't even like start entering data or anything until, you know, employee data until then, so.
But you get the late notice about July 15th.
Yeah.
Why, Carl, I wonder if you're falling into, I mean, when you start PERS employment, you have to wait 6 months
Yeah.
before you are eligible.
Right, yeah, that is it.
But we have to report hours every payroll.
But we're reporting for everybody, and then I don't know how that fits in with vesting, if that counts towards your vesting or not. They haven't followed up on that question.
They allow you to buy it back at the end of your employment.
Your
You
6
buy
months.
back the 6 months at the end of your employment.
Buy it back.
That's what they
Why
call
don't we
it.
just talk to you?
So you don't pay your first 6 months, but they let you buy it.
That's what it's looking like.
That's goofy.
Yeah, well, I know that the individual account contribution, the employee portion of the contribution, they don't collect until 6 months. So we're telling all the staff that if you know, 'cause right now they're putting 6 months into their current account, their 457 or the 401. And if they want to maintain that level, we're telling them that they need to increase what they're putting into their 457. And then it would come off in January. The other stuff happens, so,
Then there's the 8.6 or whatever that employers.
yeah, so it's crazy, and, you know, and I think, you know, it's gonna happen. I mean, I'm confident that it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be very frustrating, for Joan and me for a while until we kind of get it settled. But those people up in Salem, they seem to think that everything is just right on track, perfectly scheduled.
Our 3-hour Zoom with them kept asking, we're worried, and they're like, oh, you guys are fine, and Joe and I would ask questions, what do we have to, oh, you're fine, we'll talk to you after July 1, and we're like,
But we have a meeting with them June 30th.
Yes.
yes, that the day before.
Okie dokie, hopefully everything will be.
It'll be
It'll be good.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
we're
let's
running pretty
do-
long here.
Anything else, Carl?
I don't think so. I think we're gonna jump on the executive session again.
Yeah, let's do the claims.
Claims first.
I'll make a motion to pay the claims.
I'll say that.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Amy Harrison.
Yeah.
Roger Tom.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
The member.
Yeah.
John Flynn.
Yeah.
You kind of want to.
Okay. You feel want to?
Oh, pardon me, this.
Okay, now we're ready for the executive session.
Oh, yeah. We had a great.
We're moving from open session into executive session. The RVSS Board of Directors will now meet in executive session to review and evaluate performance of officer, employee, or staff member. If that person does not request an open meeting, the reason for executive session may not be used to do a general evaluation of an agency goal, objective of operation, or any directive personal concerning these subjects. According to ORS 192.660 to IAM 192.660, Then. There we go. Okay. Okay, we're now in that executive session and concerning. Okay, the board has concluded its executive session deliberations and will now re-enter open session. No decisions were made, no votes were taken during the executive session. Okay, guys, open now, and I open the, we can make the decision on if we're gonna keep Carl in at what cost.
You mean monetarily or the total burden of trial?
Well,
You have no idea what the total.
EDC.
okay. So we want a motion on that, or
On what,
just,
what is the?
okay, what are we,
I make a motion that the board approve a 3% COLA for general manager and a bonus payment of $8,000.
Second.
okay, roll call on that?
Discussion?
Discussion?
Oh, yeah, any discussion first? Okay,
No, thanks.
okay,
Kay Harrison?
Yeah.
Roger Cone?
Yes.
Mike Parson?
Yes.
John Evers?
Yes.
John Flynn?
Yes.
Are we adjourned?
okay, did that cover everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready
Close the
to,
meeting.
to adjourn? Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn, all adjourned.
we're adjourned.
That's two if you have your meeting.
Yeah, I'll connect right into them.
Okay.
Recording